Today we're going to be putting some big brakes on the front of this Mustang DIY style, so stay tuned. Welcome back everybody. Today we are going to be putting some brakes onto the front of the Mustang. All right, back in this corner I have a lot of boxes of stuff. So you know that I love to do DIY stuff. I like to try to save money where I can and kind of mix and match parts to make what I think is a really good, maybe the best setup for the least amount of money. So a lot of smart people have figured out some calipers that will fit onto the front of the car. Yeah, they might need a little bit of modifications, but that's okay. So in this box here, I've actually had these for about a year at this point, just waiting to go on the car, trying to figure out all the rest of the setup to actually do it. So we have the Cadillac ATS brakes, along with the hardware from S&S Engineering to basically go in and replace the mounting to make them bolt-on solution for the Mustang. These will work with the 13-inch brakes that are already on the car, but there is a little bit of pad overhang, so meaning the rotor is just a little bit too small for to get a nice flush fitment on there. You can go to S197, which is like a 13.2 or something around there, 13 and a quarter rotor, and that has much better fitment on here. You'll need a little bit different of a spacer to go in there, because you do need a spacer behind the rotor to get the rotor to sit in the center of these, just because the spacing is just a little bit different than a Mustang, since this is a GM part. Test fit the adapters in, kind of see where it is going to interfere, and then we'll oblong these holes to give clearance for the bolt. So I'm just using a die grinder bit on the drill. Makes easy work of this aluminum.
After clearancing the holes, I'll test fit the bolts again, make sure that they go in straight and not hanging up anywhere. Once we're happy with the fitment of the bolts, we can go ahead and do the final installation of the adapters. Here I'm using a press, but if you don't have a press, you can use a hammer, or you can use a bolt to pull them in, or just something to get them all the way seated into the calipers. Here I'm showing the final installation. You can see that there is printing clearance for the bolts, and the alignment notches are all in the correct orientation.
Some of you may be having some deja vu right now and going like, wait a second, didn't you already install big brakes on the car? And you would be right. And hopefully you're a subscriber. If not, click down there. But yeah, earlier this year, I did install the Cadillac ATS brakes onto the car, which are the larger 14-inch ones. So now I am installing the ATS brakes, which are the 13-inch brakes. So why am I actually going down in size? Well, the XTSs are very, very heavy. As I kind of said in that video, they are massive. And yeah, just going from the XTS to the ATS, in rotor and caliper, I'm saving 9 pounds per wheel. So that is greatly reducing my unsprung mass and then my rolling inertia as well. So it's going to greatly help the car in acceleration and braking and cornering, since I'm getting rid of unsprung mass. So it's a win-win. I didn't need the big XTSs. This is not a road race car. If I was road racing, then maybe, yeah, I would need the XTSs, or if I was heavier. The car is pretty light. So going to the ATSs just make way more sense, and they are still bigger than the Cobras that were on there, and will provide plenty of stop and grip. I don't need all that's coming from the XTSs, and actually everything kind of works out to the work with the ATSs. The brake lines are the same, the calipers are the same, so I'll be able to reuse all that stuff, which is really nice. The adapters are the same. The only thing that really changes is your rotor, and then your spacer that you put in between the rotor and the hub. And as I said, there is a different spacer depending if you're using the Cobra brake rotors or a S197 rotor. So make sure that you do choose the right ones based on the rotor that you're using. But with that, yeah, let's get these things installed onto the car now. The ATS and XTS brakes have a larger piston area than the original brakes on the car, so that is going to affect your pedal feel. Luckily, the ATS and XTS have the same piston area. So I've already gone through the math. I do have a video kind of going through to figure out the master cylinder, but just going to the ATSs, I don't need to change my master cylinder. But the master cylinder that I decided on was the 1-inch from the 93 Cobra. If you have Hydro Boost, so notice I have the vacuum boost on here. If you have Hydro Boost, your options are limited in what you can run. I don't know all the Hydro Boost options, but for a vacuum, we have the 15/16 from a Cobra, like a 94, 95 Cobra. You have the 1-inch from a 93 Cobra, or you have the stock 1 1/16. As a reminder, in the master cylinder, so as you go larger, the travel is going to get shorter and your pedal is going to get harder, and then vice versa. If you go smaller in master cylinder, it's going to get longer travel and a softer pedal. So I kind of settled right in the middle with the 1-inch. I really like that, how it feels for racing. For street, maybe a little bit longer, softer of a pedal would be nice, but it is all kind of personal preference. But it's best to probably try what you have, unless you do the math and figure out that it's way off, but maybe try what you have and then adjust from there. One additional thing to note on master cylinders is the lines might be different. So when I went to the Cobra one, I did have to kind of switch up and make new lines for the car. So I don't know why they really switched the lines. I think this one has M10 on for the front brakes and M12 for the rear brakes, and then it was vice versa for the 15/16s that I had. So one little annoyance that you have to make new brake lines sometimes if you're swapping in between, but that's fairly easy. Or there's adapters. I think Maximum Motorsports makes new lines that you can easily switch in between if you don't want to make new lines. But yep, that is the master cylinder that is currently on the car. Install is all complete. We got Cadillac Brembo, looks fantastic. Everything fits up perfectly as we expected. The great thing is that, as I said, these use the same adapters, the same brake pads as the XTSs that I had on there previously, but are much, much lighter. So we will rock these and go win some races, hopefully. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Later.